Hello, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I'm going to do something this afternoon I wasn't intending on doing, but I'm being guided to do it anyway. I'm not really set up for it. I'm using my camera, which I'm still pretty unfamiliar with it, but I'm getting the impression that I need to have faith, and so I'm going to do this anyway. I felt Edgar Cayce. I have been asked in the past to channel Edgar Cayce. I felt his energy a couple of days ago come in. I guess it was when I contemplated should I channel him. And the way that my channelings work is that someone comes to my mind. Sometimes that's by a request, sometimes that's not at all. It's just some kind of random process where someone will come into my frame of reference, and then I see them and I decide. I wait for the energy to build and then I start the channel. But in this case, this was a little bit different for a number of reasons. People have requested that I do this channel. It's a little bit of an intimidating channel. He was such a giant in his last life, in his earthly life. I'm feeling though that that's not a description that he's really happy with, because he still recalls this earthly existence. I feel that due to his background, he always carried with him, because I did, before I opened up to this reading, I asked him if he did have any regrets in this life, and he talked about not his attitude of not getting above your station in life, even though he had a view which was really to the edge of the universe and back. He still was from humble beginnings, and that in a way held him back in this earthly existence. Even though he had the freedom of mind, he still had that, I guess, the judgments that other people put on us in relation to our early beginnings, the family that we come from, the amount of money that we've got, whether we need other people's help or whether we don't. So this was a man whose higher consciousness was able to go literally to the edge of the universe and back. Yet in this earthly life he was still limited by his circumstances that he was born into. I've picked a photo of him. I tossed up whether or not to, I don't know if you can see that, I haven't got a viewfinder here, but it's Edgar Cayce when he was a youngish man. When I first saw him, I thought there was a quality about him that was either, almost like you would see, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, but there was an energy about him that was quite unsettling, particularly around his eyes. And I do feel that this photo was taken at a stage where he was a little bit afraid, in a way, of the gift that he'd been given. Perhaps not so much the gift, but other people's reactions to it. So he was unsure about how this would be accepted by society. So I did grow up hearing about Edgar Cayce. He was a little bit before my time. I had an old book on him that I don't think I ever got round to reading. Before I started this reading, I went on and I looked at his site, and I just had a fairly brief browse around that site. I know that he was very focused on health and well-being, and that, I think, was the clincher for me when I decided whether or not I would bring him through. I thought that I might have the opportunity to learn something here. So I'm getting a real draw to the immune system with him now, just while we're on the health and well-being, before we get into the reading. And this is around when your immune system is depleted, and he's telling me that at different times in his life it was depleted simply because he couldn't afford good nutrition. And I think at around the time that this photo was taken, that might have been one of these times. So he's talking about nutrition was a big focus of his, simply because back in his day, he knew what it wasn't as though he could go to the supermarket and buy fresh, green, organic vegetables. It wasn't like that at all. But immune system is connected for him very much with your diet, nutrition and diet. There's also, when he did come through initially, I felt a great weight of heaviness come upon me. And I tried to figure out what was this, almost like my body was made of stone. And I do believe that what I felt with him is the trance state. And now that I'm kind of really sitting in his energy, he's coming across now much older, and he has a lot of light behind him around his head area. So I'm feeling that he had not just the gift of sight, as they say, but he had the gift of light. There is a light in him that he had from a very early age, and that when he closed his eyes and he shut out the world, that's when he could see something different. That's when he could see what the light allowed him to see. So I do feel that this, as I said, this heaviness for me is around him going into the trance state. So I'm just going to focus here for a minute, and we'll start with our first question, because when I started to channel, before I pressed the record button, he did come through in his early life, and I do feel, again, I'm seeing a large family sitting at the table. There's baby in a high chair, and there are younger children sitting around. He had a very high regard for women that began with his mother and then moved through, I feel, to his partnership in life, in marriage. There's something around this light that I feel that his mother might have had as well. I'm not sure what the story is, but I'm just seeing a baby in a high chair, in a largest family, being touched around the head by the mother, and there's light coming. Okay, all right. So let's have a look at what else he wants to bring forward in his early life. Okay. I'm just getting a real draw to his third eye and just this light. It's almost like his head is made of light. I feel that he may have had the assistance of it's a guide, or it's some sort of light being that came through to him when he went into trance, assisted him. I'm just seeing someone coming through a tunnel, some sort of tunnel, a light being moving their way through, and there's just this blinding light. So I feel that when he went into trance, he was assisted by a particular being, a being of light. There's just something around this incredible light in his head, or around his head area. And that being showed him where to go, because I'm getting the image of arrows, almost like a guide. So when he was in trance, he was able to connect with this guide. We'll just call it the guide. And this guide took him to places, and as I said, as far out as the edge of the universe and back again, and spanning across time. Travel in this light-filled space was not difficult for him. Okay, so when did this start? So I'm feeling that he feels this was very lucky. This gift was very lucky, because I'm just seeing he's showing me a horseshoe now. And some of these images are going back to, I feel, his early childhood, so the time in which he was born, the era in which he lived. He felt that this gift gave him luck and gave him an opportunity to strive forward in this life. Yeah. And to become known. Although he was not necessarily seeking fame and fortune, because I see him with a blindfold on, which means that his focus was always on the importance, I guess, was always on this light. When he closed his eyes, when he went into trance, that was where he felt he was lucky. That he was able to see what he was able to see and do what he was able to do. So he is telling me in his early 20s, I'm getting the pull to around his early 20s, which was around this time that this photo was taken. He was a little bit, he had a bit of anxiety around how his gift would be met by society. But he's also throwing a challenge out as well. And so I feel that was what he did. He threw a challenge out to society to, believe him or not. And of course, he was quite confident in that way, because he was so often right. He was so often able to know the things that others would not know. And that's simply because he was able to travel to wherever he wanted to go when he was in trance. So why was he given this, and what was his purpose in using this gift? So what I'm seeing now are trees and growth and new growth. I feel he was a prophet. He was known, of course, according to his site, as the sleeping prophet. So he was here in a very a time that I guess didn't treat or handle prophets. It didn't accept the type of work that he did. He was here to allow for new growth in the collective consciousness, in people's souls. So the soul journey, the soul's growth was particularly important to him. And I feel that this is where the soul's growth was only as important as the heart as well. So I feel that he put heart into his work, because I'm just getting a draw to the heart chakra. His life's purpose was to show and demonstrate and provide an example and encourage enlightenment. So it was an evolutionary gift that he gave us, and that was his purpose. It was all about evolution of the spirit. Okay, so all right. What did you learn in this life? I know that I've got a number of questions, and I'm trusting him to lead me where I need to go. What did you learn in life? What did you learn? Okay, so he's giving me an image now of a boat and its movement and its travel. And it's also moving on, the ability to move on, to move forward. Movement is one of the things, the benefits of movement. Now, I don't know how often he moved in his life, but I don't know why he's showing me this boat. But I'm just getting that. Now I know what the image is. The image is transition. transition from this life to the next. And so he learnt about that. Now, I don't know much about his writings or his prophecies, but there is an image given to me now of someone transitioning. And so what did he learn in life? He learnt about moving forward, moving on and transitioning. And I don't even think it's between this life and the next. I don't even think it's that. I think it's movement generally, whether that's between lives or across the astral plane. It's movement that he learnt about in this life. Okay, so why to the ill health? Well, I mean, why did you diagnose? Because at one point he was, I think, he was arrested because he was thought to be practicing medicine. So why did you, what was the interest? Look, I'm feeling, I don't know about his childhood, but I feel that there was some kind of, I don't know whether one leg was shorter than the other, or he had some sort of limp, or he got some sort of illness. But this is also tied up with the conditions of the time. And so he witnessed, he saw, or whether someone close to him, his brothers, sisters, or it could have been even his sister, there's some kind of ill health that he witnessed that was very close to him, that set him on that path, because he looked for, you know, because so many people couldn't afford the things in those days, good nutrition, medical help even, he looked for simplicity and the simple answers to help people. The things that were in their control, the things that they could do, going right back to basics. And so really nutrition, but also the central nervous system was very important as well, because he also was so sensitive, I feel, when he was in these trance states. He was able to pick up or read, and that's I'm getting a good pull to that one. He was able to read his own central nervous system. Yeah, okay, it's telling me that's correct. And he was able to almost discern patterns, discern anomalies, discern where something needed to be fixed or needed some help or was out of whack, or and then that allowed him then to diagnose and then, of course, suggest treatments. He wasn't a medical doctor. He wasn't professing to be a medical doctor, but he was able to read his own body, and after he started to read his own body, he was able then to read other people's bodies. I'm feeling that the ability to move into trance and do this diagnostic work came about initially in dreams. So he didn't always he didn't start this by just going into trance, I don't think. It came to him while he was in dreams, and so he understood that the mechanism was some kind of sleep, and of course then after that we had that kind of relaxing and trance state. But I am feeling this heaviness, almost like he left his body when he was doing this work. His body, I could feel the heaviness of the body and the rising up of the astral body. And also I feel that he was able to look down upon his own body as well, and upon other people. So he was privy to conversations, again, this movement and this travel. He was privy to pretty much being able to go wherever he wanted to go, and to hear and see anything he wanted to see, almost like he had a camera in on that particular location. So I do understand also he was able to absorb knowledge. Okay, so again, there's something around the light here, that he was able to absorb the knowledge within books and then regurgitate, or not regurgitate it, but use that knowledge. I feel that was connected to light, to something around the speed of communication.